Welcome to Live Laugh Talks His and Hers with Mico. How you doing, Mico?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Glad to be here with you today. We're getting so many good comments and people loving the show with us together. So I'm just elated to be here with you today.
Yes. So what we going to talk about tonight?
Well, a topic that seems to be on the minds of many, or we should even say in the lives of many, and
Mm,
that is cohabitation. Cohabitation. So we're going to talk about when individuals feel like that they need to move together. They get along so well, everything is going wonderful, and it's like, well, why don't we just take this to another level? Let's just go ahead, cohabitate, do our thing. So I guess our question would be, should this happen?
mm-hmm.
And then if it should, how soon is too soon to
Oh,
move in with each other? And we're talking about dating people.
mm-hmm.
First of all, I guess let's make sure we clear that up. We're not just talking about two friends saying, "Hey, let's move in together." Two guys, two girls, or the boy and a girl, or whatever. Say, "Hey, we're friends. Let's do this and save money." No, we're talking about people who date. So
Yes.
big
Yeah.
difference. All right. So how do you? Well, I guess I can start off with myself. I will start off with me since we picked on you last time. You seem to be the one starting it off. Um, so I'll tell you my feelings on cohabitation. I don't think that a dating couple should cohabitate.
Mm-hmm.
I know I sound like a radical, and it's not, me coming out with the old thinking that this is horrible. You're living in sin. I'm not even going there with all of that. That's not where I'm coming from. Where I'm coming from is that I just have this feeling that anything that you do
Mm-hmm.
that married people should, or people with paperwork, those being married people are doing,
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't work out as well without paperwork. Because in my life, I've done things with handshakes and all this kind of stuff. I remember actually leasing a home, and I didn't have a paper lease. It was a handshake. It was us agreeing on everything. And that went south quick. It was so many things that needed to be outlined in that paperwork that frankly we didn't have. So I'm thinking, so here we go. We got two people cohabitating. They don't have the paperwork that I feel they need in a marriage, but they're going in this thing together. And some people just aren't ready. Like, they're not ready for the responsibilities. And also, you really learn about a person once you live with them. So I get that too. I get how daters say, "Hey, well, let's live together because now we really know each other." The only problem with that is we don't have the proper paperwork, and then somebody can just bounce out of it and leave the other one holding the bag. So, I mean, please feel free to agree or shoot down or whatever may be coming in your idea of cohabitation.
Well, we on opposite sides on this one.
I'm sure the audience will love this.
I actually believe in cohabitation. I think that is something that is good when you are about to, especially if you're talking about getting married to somebody. I don't think that you should live separately and then you decide you want to get married and now you want to, you know, we're not going to live together until we actually, get married because oh, there's just a ton of reasons I believe.
Ton of
A ton. I mean, because first of all, if you live with somebody, that's it's a test with your compatibility with each other. How compatible you guys going to be?
them.
Because
Okay.
I had a conversation with one of my girlfriends probably a few weeks ago. We had a little debate between a few of us, and we talked about this. And I just think that you don't really know a person until you move in with them.
Mm,
So, there are a lot of things that you can keep from a person Um, and you hear that a lot from some women who haven't moved in with their mate prior to marriage, and they'll tell you, this person changed. Or sometimes they've even lived with the person and still tell you that after they got married, that's not the same person that they
Hmm.
were before they got married. So I just think, if you're going to someone's house and you spending the night a couple nights a week, and they come to your place and they spending the nights a couple nights a week, the question that they had was, well, I mean, you're spending time with each other, so what's the problem? You're back and forth at each other's house. But I'm like, those nights that you're not spending together, a person can adjust to that and say, well, these are the nights that I do this. Or these are nights that I really let my hair down, and I can be the person that I want to be and the person that I truly am. And these nights I have to be a little more reserved because this person is over here. I think that when you live with somebody, it's harder to do that. It's harder to hide who you really are. Not that you can't do it, it's just harder to do.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
you get all their habits, their things that you get to learn, the things that they do that you probably like. Yeah, I don't like that.
Ah,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. A lot of don't like it's gonna come out of it.
right. I don't like those things. And then there's also financially. I think you talked about that. How the person can just up and leave with no consequences. But you can kind of do that being married too, really. I mean, I was left high and dry. Yeah. With
Well,
my situation, we was
but
married.
yeah, but a lot of states, protect people, and of course, we don't know what time, state, and all that happened to you, but
Hmm.
there are some states that are those old 50-50 states and stuff like that, like Georgia, California, and them kind of states. There should be some level of protection, but hey, you're right. In a lot of cases, people can be left out there, with their pants down, so to speak.
Yeah, kind of flapping in the wind. But then also, I think also if you live together, you kind of understand. You can start creating that budget and see blending things so that you can figure out. Okay, well, if I pay this and you pay this, and what do we have left over? And what are we going to do about this? And then you kind of get to see also how that person spends their money, because if they're in two separate households, you don't really know what they're doing.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If we were together and you didn't realize, oh nope, I'm gonna change that because it's on you. You're the spender.
Right.
You like to
Yeah.
shop. Suppose I didn't know
I'm the
that though.
shopper.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Suppose I didn't know that you were a shopper,
Uh-huh.
and I come in and I'm like, oh, hey, every other day you come home with like two, 3 bags, James. What you doing? You know,
Right.
but I wouldn't know that if I didn't stay with you. You see what I'm saying?
I don't know about that one because
Well,
anybody that has seen me,
yeah, you different. Look,
maybe even in pictures, can pretty much figure
but
out that dude is a shopper.
yes,
Like
but
that's
see, you like clothing a lot. Somebody might not like clothing like that. They might like look just little trinkets. You know what I'm saying? Trinkets around the house that they're buying that somebody's not seeing, or maybe that person is gambling,
Mm,
and
yeah.
and the person doesn't know until they start budgeting together, and they're like, wait a minute, what happened to this amount of money?
Right.
I think it's just a preview of marriage, a preview of what could be.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
I
and, and
like all your points of view.
and I understand what you're saying about because with every benefit there's going to be disadvantages.
Hmm.
But you could get married, you could stay in the same household, but at the same time get too complacent with it, where you like, well,
Right.
we here, we doing this, what we need the paperwork for?
Mm.
We need no paperwork, we already here.
And then I think that's another danger because what happens in some cases is the people then decide to not get married and they just cohabitate forever. Uh,
Mhm.
there was a couple that did that. They were a very famous couple. I think they've
Hmm.
been together for 100 years. I gotta
100
I
years.
gotta sit here now. I know it's Kurt Russell. Who was Kurt
Oh,
Russell with? Kurt Russell
oh,
and
Goldie
Goldie
Hawn.
Hawn.
Goldie Hawn. Mm-hmm.
Goldie Hawn, yeah, and they have cohabitated. I mean, we've got to be talking about. Oh my goodness, we got to be going 40, 45 years or so, because I do know that they're both 72 now. They were quite young people, and they just never got married. Yeah, they just cohabitated. You know, I'm just one of those believers. You know how you very rarely run into these guys like me.
Mhm.
Like you just name one thing. Like, who's the guy that shops and loves clothing? Like that's probably don't run into a lot of those guys. Usually, male clothing suffers. Like, in a relationship, the woman might have to come in there and clean everything up as far as, get him new clothes, because a lot of times, dudes got like one pair of shoes and a couple of shirts, and they need stuff.
Mhm.
My situation is different. But
Right.
then I also am one of those believers in love and marriage and baby carriage and all that stuff. I just really, love all that. I love what love's about. I love the pat of your heart and the butterflies in your stomach and all that love brings. So I like the whole commitment thing
Mhm.
probably more than any man you've ever met, because men are the least committal people on earth. So, so I'm different there, but I do understand where you're coming from with getting to know a person.
Mhm.
Really, like we talked about at the onset, you don't know them till you live with them,
All right.
and so then all of a sudden you're finding out that this person may have bad habits that you mentioned, like that could be gambling or other type of things, or like you talked about a serial shopper like myself. You
Mhm.
know, find out, find out all kinds of things. Find out that individuals, they could be lying to you, saying they can cook, and this, that, and the other, but they
Mhm.
going out getting takeout, they're making it look like they cooked all day,
Yep.
and then you come to find out they can't boil water.
Mhm.
There could be a lot of things you find out about a person and their bad habits. I had a friend of mine who mentioned that his girlfriend or whatever, I mean, whatever the title is, they began living together, and then all of a sudden, he's one of those people that like to squeeze the toothpaste from the bottom of the container, and she squeezes it in the middle, and
See?
then leaves a mess at the
Mhm.
top of the toothpaste, and it was just a total turnoff for him. Like, it was just
See?
disgusting. Yeah. So
Right.
but he didn't find that out till they
Until.
lived together,
Mhm.
and then she's like the toothpaste bandit, he called her, and it almost led to a breakup of their relationship
Mm.
over toothpaste.
Over toothpaste.
But
And it's
so
little
yeah,
things like that that people just be like, you know what I'm saying? Somebody might feel like, oh, dishes in the sink overnight. That's okay. And somebody else might be like, oh, we're not about to leave them dishes in the sink all night long. That's not about to happen.
exactly. Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
in two different standards.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you may have two people in a relationship that want to decorate or have decorating ideas.
Ideas, yes.
So maybe the guy, he wants to turn a room into a man cave, or a bar, or something like that, and the person he's living with, like, oh no, we don't want that, or we don't want a giant pool table in the middle of the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can have all kinds of issues that arise,
Yeah.
and then living together, you get to answer a lot of those questions.
Right. And it's just like a test. Like, okay, can we really do this? Is this really going to work out for us? And then, if you're not, if you wait till you get married, that's a whole divorce you got to go through if things don't work out. It ain't no test. It's it's like,
And that's the
oh
thing.
wow.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I don't like tests though, and I like marriage.
He's I don't
So
like this.
I hate tests. I hate tests that I know all the answers to,
Mm,
because
mm,
then I start getting nervous about the test. I just because I just feel that when you put a man in a situation and it's non-committal, he go non-commit.
mm, mm, mm.
And so if it's in your heart, you did this move in thing because you trying to move forward in the relationship, and he's already getting the milk and the cookies.
Mhm.
What else he want? So he's like, I'm getting it. Why should I do paperwork? I'm getting everything I want. And that's only my only reason with that, and the way I feel about marriage itself. But
Mhm.
yeah, I see your points. Well, what you're saying, and what has to happen is open and honest communication.
Yeah.
And but I think if you have that open and honest communication, even then you can't talk about everything.
Oh, you can't.
There's no way that you talk about how would a person even know that somebody squeezes a toothpaste from the middle, or now you may be able to have honest communication about some things, but some things, like you say, you're gonna find out in that relationship because you might see the person as a dapper dresser, but what you might not see is that they spend 80% of their check on
Right.
on this or that, so
Right.
or you might see the person walk into a convenience store and buy a couple of scratch offs. But what you
Mhm.
didn't know is that's just what they do in front of you. They actually gamble thousands of dollars away on this and that and the other. Cohabitation has its way of providing tests that people may fail or may not. But okay, so then we'll go with you. Okay, this couple, they dating and they move in together. Now they
Mhm.
start talking about it. Now, what's your idea of the length of the relationship before they should do this? Is this something that all of a sudden they feel these butterflies and they feel everything, and they're like, you know what, I might as well not even finish this lease. You come on in right now. It's been 6 months. I'm in love. You're all I've been waiting on, and I'm not gonna wait any longer. Let's just start living together.
Well,
So,
you know,
is 6 months too long, or not long enough? Or, I mean,
I
tell
don't
me a time.
think really put a time on it because it just depends on the two people. You know, you have
Mm-hmm.
people who have met, and I think a guy friend of mine told me that I think his grandmother and grandfather met and knew each other for a month and got married
Mm,
and stayed married for like 40 years before, somebody passed away.
that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Not the passing away part, but the 40 years of marriage.
But, so I think it just depends on the person or the people rather to see, how does that relationship work for them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I can't really put a time frame on it as to okay, well, it should be a year before two people move in together because by then they might be married, or or it should
Mm-hmm.
be 6 months because you just don't know. So I can't really put a time frame on it. I did talk to my friends about that too, and some people do want to put a time frame on it. They were like, "Oh, you should at least know somebody for a year," and then somebody else was like, "No, it should be 6 months." Because anything can happen. A year is too long. So I think every person has a different idea of what that time frame should be, and the two people they just want to work that out amongst themselves and
Mm-hmm.
how that. And then it also you have to think about children.
Mm. We
If you
haven't talked about them.
right, if you got children involved, then how long do you wait to move in? With
Mm.
kids involved, because you don't want to move somebody in and then it doesn't work out, and they didn't share
Wow.
space with your children.
Yeah, that could be a challenge. Me, I'm thinking if we're doing this, it should be a year or more.
Okay.
Children or not, because I just feel like you need to really know each other well before you start living with each other. And if you have children, even more so, because you need to know what kind of person you're putting around your kids.
Yes.
Like you say, some of these habits are different, terrible traits. You may want to know those, or at least get to know the person more intimately. But on the opposite side of that, you can know a person 20, 30 years and not know that they have terrible traits. There's been a case in New York where this gentleman, he's been like this neighbor that everybody looks to. He's like this nice guy, and everybody in the community knows him. And this dude has been raping and killing women for years and burying them out by the the beach. And I mean, nonsense. People have known, felt like they knew this guy intimately for decades.
Mm,
Didn't know he was a serial killer. So
yeah.
I'm not going that far. I'm sure these couples may not have this type of habit, but what I'm saying is there really doesn't. You can't put a time on really getting to know somebody. You could know somebody for a significant amount of time,
Yeah.
but I think when you're dating, I mean, your friends parents were probably an exception to the rule.
Oh
Most
yes, most
folks
definitely.
probably can't. They
Most
a month
definitely.
together and then be together 40 years later. What a beautiful story. Almost love at first sight kind of story. Well, I
Mhm.
love those because I love love and marriage. Like I talked about. I love all of that. I love the fairy tale. Yeah, but I think there should be, I feel, significant time. I think a year or more, but we rarely see that. Like you said, in most cases, by that time they probably have decided to get married
Mm,
anyway.
yeah, and
So
that's how it's working these days. And I think that's part of the problem too. Like people are getting married so soon now, but the divorce rate is up also because marriage is not what it used to be. It used to be you get married and you try to work it out and figure out now oh, you doing this or I don't like the way you brush your hair that way, so we need to get a divorce. You know?
and I'm not down with that at all.
Yes.
And because I just believe that marriage is forever,
Hmm.
and there should be efforts to make it forever. Now, of course, they may not last forever, but there should be a whole lot of effort put in. And it shouldn't be based on some of these trivial. I know you were joking about the hair comb, but it's just as trivial that the things people come up with, and they just call it irreconcilable differences to get
Right.
out of their marriage.
Hmm.
I just think it's awful. But
Yeah. So that's just another part of why I think you should live with the person first, just because you got to get an idea who you're going to be with and the type of personality you're going to have to deal with on a 24/7 basis, because you're going to come home to this person, you're going to wake up to this person, you're going to go to sleep to this person, and you just have to have that connection and know
right,
that when things aren't working out, you guys can still strive and get through that. And if you can get through some of the major concerns when it comes to living with a person, is at least test it out to see, like, is this you know this is a great person, but they after about 20 hours I'm tired of them. They talk too, you know they've been talking to me since we got up this morning. So Saturday, that's supposed to be the break day. You supposed to
wow.
get a
Why
break.
are you sitting here talking about me like that?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about me shopping and everybody know I talk too much. So you just describing me throughout the show.
I'm just saying, you might be like, I just want to chill, relax, whatever. And the person just like, so what's going on with you? Nothing. Nothing is going on for me. Just want to listen to some music today. Is that okay? No? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I laugh because men can be together all day long and
Mm-hmm.
don't say anything to each other. All day long. Like they can be in a room, they can drive to work together, come home, eat together, and nobody says anything to the other one. But usually in the relationship with the woman, she's got a lot to say. She's saying, I know I'm not trying to be stereotypical because, like I said, we already acknowledged that I'm the different male here. I can talk or the ears off a rabbit, literally, and the, but yeah, I just know too when we're getting into these types of relationship, we start talking about cohabitation. We're talking about a committed relationship without the paperwork, but it's committed.
It's committed.
So another thing that's got to happen is you got to have similar goals and values. Like, do people have enough conversation before getting married or before cohabitating to make sure they have the same long-term goal?
Mm,
And that's a question that I think that a lot of folks don't have at all. Like before, even with marriage or with cohabitation, they're not talking about long-term goals. What's your 5-year plan?
mhm,
What's your 10-year plan?
mhm,
What's your plans with me? What are your family plans? Do you want to have children? Do you not? Sometimes they just fall in love and everything's bliss and let's just get together. And we didn't have a whole lot of conversation. So, how do you feel about shared goals? Should the individuals have, you know, similar goals and values? All of that?
Yeah, they have to talk about, because these are things that people don't talk about no more. They just, they don't get into the nitty gritty of relationships anymore. It's just about, okay, I love you, you love me, so let's make this work. So you need to talk about all of those things, and that's a great plan. Talk about your 5-year plan. What do you plan on doing? Where do you plan on being?
Right.
What do
Yes.
you want to have out of this? And then, it's harder when you get older too, because there's a sense of independence. So
Yes.
I've been independent for years. So to move in with somebody will test that boundary for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How do I feel about, somebody else sharing my space?
Mm.
When you're
Mm.
not to somebody being there. I had dated this guy about 3 years ago, and he didn't move in, but he was at the house enough that he might
Enough.
enough. Like every other night he was staying the night, and I just was like, wow. And I had been single for a few years prior to that, and it was just different. And he would
Mm.
he would wake up in the middle of the night, and I would be in another room, sleep. And
Wow.
it happened like about 4 or 5 times, and he finally was like, what's wrong? What's the problem? And I was like, no, there is no problem. What are you talking about? He was like, why are you always in the other room? And I was just like, you know what? Because I'm not used to somebody in the bed with me.
Mm.
I want
Okay.
spread out, to move around, to, roll over and have, if it get hot on one side of the bed, I could roll over to the cool side of the bed.
Right.
And I was like, wow, like I have gotten used to being independent. And I think
And this.
of, you know, testing those waters too, like, okay, so you get married, like, okay, and then the person is like, I can't even be in this room with you. And I didn't know that until then. Because I didn't know that with him until it actually happened.
So that really didn't work out for you, is
No,
what we're
oh,
saying.
no, it didn't work because he felt like I was really putting up a wall, but I wasn't. I was trying to get comfortable in my own time.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Now, but when we talk about independence and we talk about doing things, at an older age and all, of course, moving in together doesn't mean we have to give up all of our independence. We can. It's still healthy to maintain your individual interests, your friendships, your hobbies, all that kind of thing. You shouldn't be required to give up everything, but there's probably going to be conversation if you're so used to sleeping alone and then all of a sudden you're in a relationship and then you bounce, you go to the other room, there might be some real conversation about
And
that, I'm
that
sure.
there should be a conversation, and I didn't have that conversation. I just didn't. You see?
And yeah, like we were saying, so many conversations where that's
Right.
not being had by these couples.
Hmm.
They're not talking about these types of things. And all of a sudden, you're in a relationship and you're like, you know what? I really don't like sleeping with anybody.
Hmm.
Let me go get in the other bed, or on the couch. Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
I think, I don't know. It's just really, really, really hard. I think, I know it would be for me to make
mhm.
that leap without um just testing things out to see, okay, how does this work?
I just think it's funny that you said that. I'm still stuck on that one. I think that's funny.
What?
I think that about the bed.
Yeah, it was
Like I don't want to sleep with this person, and
it was
hey, but we cohabitating.
and I
Hilarious.
didn't realize it, like I said, until it happened. It
Right.
never crossed my mind like this was going to be an issue, but it was. It was
Right.
an issue for me. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, I probably made him feel some kind of way. But
Yeah, he might be still messed up about that
yeah, like, yeah, she was in the other room
one.
and
Right.
wasn't coming back.
Right. Not even coming back to the room. I think probably one of the things that would be a shock to, well, it wouldn't be a shock to anybody that knows, but it would be a shock to maybe somebody who did, would be all of my friends, with an exception. I don't call like Kevin, he's not my friend, he's my brother. I'm
Hmm.
talking about my friends, uh, you know, I got a few brothers, but most of them are female.
Mhm.
I think that would be a shock to the system of somebody. You know, they they like, let me get this straight. So y'all just friends, yet y'all eat together, or you hanging out together, or it's 1 in the morning, y'all still on the phone. Yeah, I think all of that might be a shock to the system or somebody. And I'm thinking while we're on that subject of independence, that might, I don't know if that might fly, but
Right.
it's so true. Like I have so many friends, all my friends are female, and why wouldn't it be? You just talked about I talk all the time, and I wear, I change clothes like 4 times a day. So yeah,
Mhm.
probably all my friends would be female, but I think that would be a shock. What do you think?
Yeah, it'll be, then you have to worry about, everybody is different. Then think about when you're not in a relationship, things already change once you, especially if you were friends first and then you cross over and then rules start to change.
Hmm.
People are like, oh, I don't want you, going out with your friends like that. Or a lot of women have issues with the way they dress. A man will be like, I don't like the way you dress it. Well, I mean, I was dressing like this when you met me.
Yeah, but that was for me. I wanted it on my eyes. That's
See
what most
that?
men say.
See that?
But I don't feel
Okay.
like that. I don't feel like that at all.
But yeah, but
I'm
I'm saying,
that opposite dude.
yeah, that's how men do. They be like, oh, that was for me. That's not for everybody else no more. And things start to change. So if they change in prior to you even living together, there's going to be some changes once you all step in that house.
Right.
Y'all start cohabitating.
You're gonna really start finding out who that person really is.
Yes.
And but I think I'm probably way too loose on that because again, all my friends are female. So
Mm-hmm.
then I see a lot from a female perspective. So I'm not thinking, okay, you going out with your girls and y'all going to the out and having a good night and you wearing a really outfit that's clingy or I'm not over there tripping. I'm the opposite. But I know a lot of my friends who would be like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
where are you? What are you? No, that's not going."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that independence that you have after living on your own for decades or however long it is, it can go right out the window real fast. Which is why, as you mentioned too, where cohabitating gives this testing period. So you might find out during this trial period that the two of y'all are not compatible at all,
Right.
and it might be that. So this could work out to be a good way to learn more about each other.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like I say, I feel the opposite. I feel like y'all need to you know date then get married. But this could be a test period for most people where they can say, hey, this man here, he telling me what to wear, where to go, and what time I better be home. And
Mm-hmm.
it can get ugly quick, real quick. Now while we're on that subject of getting ugly quick, what about respect for each other's personal space, boundaries,
Mm-mm.
privacy? See, that's me.
Yeah, they're gonna be
I
like,
have I
privacy. You
used
need
to not be that way. I went that way at all. Now I done got my AARP card, and all of a sudden, so I ain't telling age. I'm just gonna say I got that card came in the mail, and I'm like, how they know? But so now it's all about personal space with me. Like I do not, and that again, this is probably crazy. May have never heard another man say this. I don't like sharing a bathroom
Oh yeah, no. Mm-mm.
at all.
Mm.
I need that personal space. I need my space to even when I'm getting up, getting ready,
Mhm.
doing my thing. I have my whole ritual that I do. I need my own space. I need boundaries. Like for instance, my dogs have no boundaries. I go to use the bathroom and they following me. I'm like, hey, if, now if I try to follow them while they using the bathroom, they start walking off like and looking back at me like, don't you see me trying? But they'll follow me. So I
Mhm.
don't even. I especially don't like that with a person.
Altruistic.
If I'm using the restroom and you just walk in,
Mhm.
what? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm like, now that's me. Are there some things that you feel about personal space and boundaries?
I mean, I just need me time. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I definitely need my own bathroom because there's just no need for us to be cohabitating in the bathroom together.
Mm,
And then I just need some me time. I don't. If I live with somebody, I wouldn't want to be up under them 24/7.
right.
And that was I think that was another issue me and my ex had, is that he he didn't follow me to the bathroom, but he was everywhere out the house. If I went to the kitchen and cook something, he in the kitchen because he wanted to stand there and chit chat with me. If I'm washing clothes, he back there, watching me put the. I can't. You don't have nothing to do? Nothing.
Right.
It's just-
You ain't gotta, go home, but you gotta get away from
right.
me, kind of thing. I need you to give me my space.
Yeah. So I
I need space
some
too.
space.
I need my personal time.
So if I'm doing something, like I'm even like that with the kids. They know if I'm in here and the door is closed, that's me time. Unless it's an emergency or you really need something, don't knock on the door, please. Just give me an hour, just so I can wind down and
Right.
relaxation, and then we can go from there. But I definitely need some me time. I can't be with someone and it's just a constant, like you said, follow you around from place to place to place with no concern about, okay, am I intruding on that person's space?
Right. Now, what do you think about privacy? Like for me, I need you to stay away from my phone.
Oh yeah, we ain't got time to be going through people's phones. I just, I can't go through that.
Because I just feel like there's got to be some trust. Now, if we don't trust each other, what are we doing?
Mhm.
So I don't really believe in going through each other's devices. But with cohabitation comes a lot of that
I
because you're
was getting ready to
sitting
say.
there on the couch with
Mhm.
each other, or you're in the bed with each other,
Right.
and
Leaning
uh,
over, looking.
mhm,
Who you take?
yeah, you leaning over, and like, what's that? Let me see that picture. You know, what are you looking on my phone for?
Or not even that. You on the phone and you on speakerphone and they in your conversation with you.
Oh
They
man, no, we can't. No, that no. I have been around a friend
Mhm.
that we're not even friends right now because of that. I be on the phone with, and they asking me, "Well, who is that?
Yep.
Who, what?" I mean, we're just friends, and that to me, that's irritating. You don't need to know who I'm talking to, or I'll be on the phone with somebody, and they just walk in the room like a child and just start talking loud and
Mhm.
having a conversation, and I'm sitting here like, don't you see I'm on the phone? So yeah, I would have. I need a lot of privacy. I need a lot of personal space. I need boundaries, and as you mentioned earlier, I'm going to need a huge closet. So
Yeah.
that comes with the territory. You're gonna need to know that up front. Like
Mhm.
whichever room got the walk-in closet, that's my closet, and you got
Mhm.
to work it out on your own over there. But
And
a lot of times people aren't emotionally ready either, because there's going to be ups and downs of
mhm.
living together, and then you got all these emotional changes, or maybe you didn't get to know the person emotionally.
Mhm.
And you got to have some emotional readiness when you're talking about moving together, because people have mood swings
Mood
and things
swings, yes.
that they're able, like you said earlier, when you said that people are able to hide certain things about themselves.
Mhm.
I was thinking somebody said to me that you don't even meet the person, you meet their agent.
Right.
And then when you living with somebody, you meet the person, and then you come to find out they got all kind of emotional baggage
Bag.
that you
Yep.
knew nothing about.
Mhm.
I was thinking about another relationship that I was privy to having both of the parties as friends, and the gentleman, she was laying like on the couch or whatever, watching TV or on the tablet or whatever, and he, jumped on top of her, like with this big hug, and like, playing like you do with a kid, like Kissy Monster or something. Like he's on top of her, he's trying to kiss her, and
Mhm.
she totally freaked out because she had an experience in which she was attacked.
See? Mm.
So of course that was never a conversation with him. I mean, he knew about
Right.
the attack, but he didn't know how it happened, and so he's just walking, in the room, and he's like, she's on the couch, I'm just gonna jump over on her and give her this big hug, and she just swinging, and
Mm, mm,
he
mm.
found out the hard way.
Right.
So, yeah, now when we talk about emotional readiness and we talk about cohabitating, with that in mind, do you think that individuals should be open about not only their emotional baggage that they may have, the emotional baggage, but even medications and such that they may be on that the other person might want to know about, or their health history?
You know,
What you think?
a lot of people don't like to talk about that, or they be like, "Oh, that's personal. You don't need it." But if you're gonna live with somebody, I think you should share things like that because if something happens and they don't know about that, suppose you have to call the ambulance and you don't know why, or you don't know what's
Right.
going on, or somebody might be bipolar and you don't know that.
And I just think you should.
Right. And you're flipping back and forth and trying to figure out what's the problem or what's going on, and you don't know that there's an issue. So there are certain things that yes, you have to share those things because whew, living with somebody with a whole bunch of issues and you didn't know that, they had maybe somebody really close to them passed away and that they're, going through a depression, or like you said,
Hmm.
somebody was attacked or had a sexual trauma that they still carry with them, and um it just little things bother them that you may not have thought about before, like, well, why would that, something so small, even if something did happen to them, why is that bothering them? So
Right.
those are little things that you have to get out and talk to people about because it's the little things that cause bigger issues,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
I appreciate how you brought that out, and I feel that it should be discussed because I think about myself. If I have medical issues that, like I'm a diabetic. What if my blood sugar drops too low, or when you didn't know
Mhm.
what was going on? Like you said, you got to call an ambulance. When you didn't even know, just hand me something with sugar in
Right.
it, or whatever. It could be
Mhm.
something simple like that, but you had no clue because I felt like, oh, this is my private
Mhm.
circumstance. This is me. No, I think especially when we start talking about things that could necessitate help like that. Like
Mhm.
you need, if you're diabetic, you need help. If you also if you're bipolar or there are other issues, I need to know this. Like I need to be, because if I'm living with you, then I need to understand everything involved. I need to know
Right.
all that I got to deal with, and then make an informed decision if this is who I need to be with,
Mhm.
one way or the other. And not to say that I would run away from somebody. I'm just saying, let me know.
I was
Let me make the decision.
I was going to say, there it is. You have to let that person make their decision on their own. And a lot of people like to do that. They like to hide things because they don't want to push the person away. Like, oh, I might scare them away if they know this. Or, whoa, I have these health issues. So it might scare them away that they might have to help take care of me or do something for me that they're not ready for. But you have to let people know these things and allow them to make those decisions. Like, okay, is this what I'm ready for? Can I handle this?
All right.
Because you don't want to put somebody in that position later on, a year or two down the line, and they find something out and they're totally sided, and they're like, well, where did this come from? I didn't even know there was an issue with this, or, you know, um, just from a personal standpoint, being in the military, I've had sexual trauma. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and people, and for a long time, and it's the little things that you don't even notice yourself. Like sometimes it's not even what somebody else notices, what you don't notice about yourself. And for a long time,
Hmm.
go get my nails done, I would jerk my hand and I couldn't figure out why. Like why do I tense up, when she's just, buffering my nails or doing something. And I had to go to therapy for that. And I didn't go to
Wow.
therapy specifically for that. I went for the sexual trauma, but I learned little triggers about me. So if someone is holding my hand and they're stroking me, that's a trigger. And I
Yes.
that. But when you're intimate with somebody, you have to tell them those little things because if you start acting a certain way, they feel like you're pulling back. But
Right.
know that there's just something they need to change about what they're doing.
Exactly. And not by any means trying to lighten what you just said, but even if it's something emotionally that's more simplistic, I think you need to know. Like for me,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing you need to know about me is this guy that you're talking to right now does not exist in the morning. I am not a morning person.
Not a morning person.
So in the morning, you're gonna get a lot of just grunt sound.
Grumpiness.
You know, you'll be like, "How you doing?" You know, what you got on the schedule today? Ah, you're gonna get this bear because I'm not a morning person. I don't want to talk. And if you're one of those people, like my mother, she would wake up in the morning and sing. Like she's singing and
It's
happy and like a
happy.
bird. Oh, that was irritating to a person that's not a morning person. I'm just what in you know. And you can't tell your mom to hush, you know. So
Mm,
I had to sit there and live through it. But I'm just not that. I'm not that person at all. I will get up in the morning. I do my thing,
mm-hmm.
but that don't mean I'm happy about it. And so I think that need to be shared as well. Like I'm going to take it right off the cuff that the guy you see at you know 1 o'clock in the afternoon isn't the guy you see at 5 o'clock in the morning to
Right.
wake me up. I just want you to know that. And
Mm-hmm.
I had another friend of mine would say that she never liked to be awakened. She's like, if I'm asleep, I don't care if the house is on fire. You just let me burn with the house.
Mm-mm.
Don't wake me up. Yeah, I'm like, wow, I just never understood that. But that's how she was serious about that. Don't wake her up out of her sleep.
Mm.
So things like that, little stuff like that, yeah, that need to be shared. But especially like you were just speaking of, the sexual trauma and different things like, oh, that needs to come out real quick, fast, and in a hurry, so the other person don't, fool around and make some error that costs, them, they're sitting there wondering what happened, or it
Mm-hmm.
gets violent like I did with my friend. She's swinging and carrying
Right.
on, and
Right.
he don't know what's going on. So yeah, that needs to come up. And then what about we'll talk about just a couple other things too, like the expectations of the families and social circles. Because true, when you marry somebody, you don't marry somebody. You marry their family.
Right.
And you also marry their social circle. All of a sudden, their friends or your friends and all these people they associate with is, is now in your life. Wherever their congregation or whatever all of that is now in your life as well.
Mm-hmm.
So external pressures can, in my mind, influence cohabitation. Period, even the timing of it. Because there may be family members who feel like, well, I believe in marriage, but this whole sinfulness y'all doing it is living together. Some people, would just explode. Or there could be friends, in the social circle that could feel like, well, y'all need to, like you said earlier, there's some of your friends that feel like it should be a year. Some of them feel like it should. They're involved in your relationship. They sit up here going, well, yeah, I think y'all doing this too quick. I think
Mm.
so do you feel that families and social circles should determine what you do as a couple as
Oh,
far as cohabitation?
oh no, they definitely shouldn't determine it. But I do see where they could influence it. Where if you're living together for a year, now you got people saying, "Well, you done been together for a year or two. Why you just don't get married?"
Right,
You know what I'm saying? You
right.
you already doing it. It's just a piece of paper. So, or um a young lady, might be living with her boyfriend for the past 2 or 3 years or 3 or 4 years, and I can see the dad saying, why are you living with him? As you say, when he can get if he's getting the milk, all in one, what else he need?
He ain't got to buy the cow,
Right.
as they used to say. Getting the milk.
So yeah, so I mean, what's the point in all of that? So, and then there's just this constant kind of yammering in the back from all of your friends and family about what you should do because you're already living together.
Right.
So I do get definitely that could be a big issue. you know
Yeah. It could affect that relationship overall, not just
mm-hmm.
them cohabitating, but
Yep, because then you
you
got
let
a
people
person
in.
saying I'm fine living like this, and the other person like, well, everybody else is saying we should do it, and I don't see what the problem is. So why we just can't go ahead and get married? You know, we've been doing this for a while,
Mhm.
and Whew, I don't know. And I just feel like if you're gonna be living with somebody for 5, 6 years, you need to get married. I'm sorry.
Now, well, well, it takes 5 or 6 years for you to agree with me, but yeah, 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 definitely, if it's
Yeah, yeah,
going on,
you need to go
or
on
if
get
you,
married. I ain't understand. I don't understand them kind of relationships, but
yeah, like the relationship we mentioned at the onset. Not that we picked on Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, but
hmm
40, 50 years. I mean, wow, that's a long time.
that's a
You know,
long time. But I'm wondering. I know they were older when they got married, so I'm not familiar with their background. But maybe they were married before, and maybe there were some issues when with the divorce. I don't know. Sometimes you go through things in the past, and they like, we're not doing this again. So I don't know.
well,
It's got.
I'm glad you mentioned that because um, I see here that in, it was written in 2023, July of 2023,
Hmm.
that they have been together since 1983.
Oh,
So it's 2023, so that's 40 years,
40 years.
and they've never married, and they seem to have, as this magazine article brings out, a wonderful relationship. 40 years have gone by, and they even state that they have a wild, brilliant, lovable, childlike, perfectly maddening relationship.
See.
Yet they did not see the need to get married. They actually met on set of a movie, a Disney movie, in 1966. That's
Mm.
when they met, and she was 21 and he was 16. So she's actually 5 years older.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and they have been married, and they, I mean, they have not been married, but they love each other as though, and it's gone on, and they got a whole timeline of pictures and everything else in their lives where, nothing's changed, and it's been 40 years. You say five, I say, I say get go, but
That's why I
and
said it's different for different people. It's all what works for your relationship.
and it's just, for me, it's just people say it's just paperwork, but we need paperwork. I mean, imagine if you bought a car and you had
Oh,
no paperwork.
yeah.
Or you bought a house and you had no paperwork.
People say
Somebody
it's just paperwork, but that paper seemed to do something. I don't know what it is.
that
I
paper
promise
does something.
to be honest, it is literally just paperwork. But there is something I don't know what it is about that paperwork that just changes things. It
Hmm.
is a I don't know. Being married is different. It just it's different than being in a relationship. There is a um it's not just a legal bond. It's just like it changes the whole aspect. And I think what that's why some people say when they got married, things change
Yeah.
because it depends on how you feel about that paper. Like, I mean, I don't know. There's just something different about actually being married on paper versus just living together and being with each other.
Now, I agree with you 110% there. And I always say that the easiest way to get rid of a man is pull out some marriage paperwork and start talking about marriage. He'll get running out the room, because there's just commitment issues with men that seems more prevalent than with women.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we see more women nowadays that don't want to get married, we see that more and more. But it seems to be the case, like 9 out of 10 men. And I may be over exaggerating. I don't have a statistic. I know you're gonna call me on that. Where you got that statistic? But but it seems like more men don't want the legal part of it, and to me, that's the part that you should be concerned about, because there are legal and practical implications. Like, first of all, let's just talk about lease agreements,
Mm-hmm.
tenancy laws.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you were in certain states, you gotta list everybody that's in that house on your lease agreement.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So
you.
all of a sudden, you got somebody moving in, and you didn't tell the person that's leasing the building about it. That could be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And without paperwork, there's no. Somebody said, without the paperwork, you can't make money work," which is true too, because okay, so you're living with me, and let's just say, God forbid, I die, you get nothing.
Mhm.
There's no paperwork. So if there's some actual next of kin,
Mm.
so that could be one of my relatives or somebody, they come take everything, and you on the street. They don't even know who you are, possibly. And if they do, they ain't gonna care. So that's why I say paperwork is so important because it protects.
Mhm.
But if I'm married to you and I die, you're my next of kin. You get everything. The family gets nothing. Then they got to argue about amongst themselves because they get nothing. You get it.
And
And that's why I just feel like it's so important. And I think people just minimize it, but it's a protection, even on health issues.
yeah, it's a big thing. My mom and my stepdad, they never got a divorce. He moved on. He was living with this woman. I think they were together for like 7 years.
Right.
When he passed away. He had heart issues and he passed away. Um my mom still she got like the social security. Um all the family members were coming to her. Any anything that had to do with, being married and you still got a portion of the check from when he was working, all of those things. Even though the woman was with my stepdad for 7 years,
Hmm.
they had to go through my mom for everything because they were
Wow.
still legally married.
Right. And I just think that's the part that you can't overlook because
Mhm.
the thing about marriage, people say it's a piece of paper, but that piece of paper actually makes you next of kin.
Yes.
It erases parents, brothers,
Mhm.
sisters, whoever else. And all of a sudden you're next to kin and you're the shot caller.
Yep.
So let's just say, forget death. What if I'm hospitalized and
Mm.
there's life or death decisions that need to be made. Whether we operate, don't operate, pull a plug, don't pull a plug. Who's calling that shot? It's that person that with the piece of paper.
A piece of paper. Yep. Because if y'all
So
just living together and something happened, you don't have no say so. It's gonna go
no say.
like you said, the next of kin. It's gonna be the mom or
And
the
that
sister or
person
the brother.
and they could have told you in an intimate conversation
Mhm.
that if I'm, do not resuscitate me or do not, and they could have told you that and you remember it. But there's this other person
Mhm.
that has that right to make that decision. And I remember the story of Liberace, and there was the man that he was dating.
Mhm.
And when all of it came down, when Liberace died, the next of kin and all the family, they just took everything, and he was out. I
Mm.
mean, he was, so he lived a certain lifestyle because Liberace probably the only person that cared more about shopping than me. Maybe Elvis, Liberace, and then me. Hey, can you imagine this? This gentleman who was used to a certain lifestyle, all of a sudden it was over. It was gone
Mhm.
because there was no paperwork. Well, it couldn't be paperwork at that time because there was no recognition of same-sex marriage.
Mhm.
But the point is you need paper. You need it. Don't let nobody fool you. Tell you any different. But yes, I get what you're saying with cohabitation. I get the fact that people can use it as a testing ground. But I also get the fact that there's got to be privacy. There's some all this other. There's got to be communication. There's got to be shared goals.
Mhm.
We didn't even mention this financial stability
Mhm.
because what if you're sharing expenses in the household, but one is not financially stable enough to support themselves, much less both of y'all.
Right.
So that's a conversation that needs to be had. Okay, how much do you make? And I'm not saying that should be some relationships that would be the whole conversation. I'm
Mm.
not saying that money should be at all, but it should definitely be something discussed. So I mean, it's essential to make this decision based on your own feelings, your unique circumstances. I agree that other people should make this decision for you. It shouldn't be their parents or friends. But both of these partners got to be comfortable and enthusiastic about the idea of living together. And that decision need to be made thoughtfully and consciously. And no, nobody else involved. but it definitely needs to be one that is thought all the way through at every side of it.
Mhm.
I'm glad that you shared your experience there. Again, kind of comical, but a very important point that when you cohabitate, there's things that may need to be discussed that you didn't even think about discussing, or maybe you didn't even think about it because you didn't see it as a problem at the time.
Mhm.
But then all of a sudden, here's this person in your bed. You're like, you know what? Nah, that's not going to work. Um, and another thing, I just thought about, my fur babies are my babies. What if somebody not used to that? Like, wait a
Mhm.
minute. Or maybe they never had an animal
Right.
inside the house, or never had one at all. So there's a lot of discussion goes into it, and I'm glad that we had this conversation. That's very powerful, I think, and I thank you for being here, and I know that our partners, the ones who are out there listening, they love listening to both sides, and we invite them to write in admin at livelaughtalk.com. You can email us there. Also, you can comment on Spotify and leave a message for us. Let us know what you think, because we are enjoying having this segment together. So let us know some of your ideas or even show ideas that you may have. We'd love to hear it. So anything that you would like to say, Miko, as we bring this to a conclusion?
If you don't decide to cohabitate, make sure you have those intimate, deep conversations to understand each other.
Yes. So that means that relationship, even if you're dating and not cohabitating, it may need to have some time, right? Because you
Mhm.
gotta,
Yes.
especially if you're not cohabitating, because you really need to be spending more time with each other and talking
Mhm.
about things and getting everything out in the open. And I really appreciate some of the ideas and all that you shared, and thank you for that. So as we bring this one to a conclusion, I will say, like George and Gracie, say good night, Miko.
Good night, Miko.